So that was my template. Obviously I bent that one flat, that was the original.
It's really bubbled up there.
Okay, hi guys, so welcome back to the garage, another episode on the Porsche. So today, what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be looking at the steering rack. I should really be carrying on with the underside, because on Monday, I've got the painter coming in to have a look at the underside, to make a date for doing all the work underneath. So seam sealant, stone chip and colour. But I really don't feel like getting under there with the grinder today. I really can't be bothered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the steering rack, because you remember from the previous videos, it's broken. Somebody did a dodgy repair on it and glued everything together. So I'm going to have a look at that today, see what I can salvage from it, hopefully the high pressure lines. But I do know I've got to buy another steering rack. I've been talking to a company called 9 Apart in the UK, looking for a refurbished unit. So I found one, it looks pretty good. They sent me photographs. And I've been talking to a guy called Steve there who's really helpful. And I'll probably buy it. In fact, I've said I'd buy it. But what I do need to do is check the old one to see whether I can reuse some of the components on it. So that's what I'm going to do today. So the steering rack has pretty much stayed where I left it when I took it off. As you can see, these high pressure lines are absolutely solid in there. And I simply couldn't get them out, or can't get them out, which is a real shame. And I'll show you, once I've got it on the bench, I'll show you the damage and stuff, but essentially it's all complete still. I damaged one of the boots here, which is annoying because they are, I think, 25 quid each. But I've got new drop link arms, or I think they're called drop links, no, I can't remember what they're called now. And I'm going to take it apart today to check whether the centre part's all right here. Because if not, then I'll have to buy some new ones of those as well. Can't remember what they're called. This section, which is this bit here. But also, I'm going to see if I can get these lines off, because these lines are incredibly expensive. If you want to buy them new, there are obviously two of them. One of them, I can't remember which, is over £500. The other one is over £300. So there's a huge amount of money involved there. So although they're glued into the body of the steering rack, I'm going to try and do all I can to get them out. But yeah, I'm going to get it on the bench now and see what's what. Okay, so here it is. You can see how cumbersome it is with all these lines still attached to it. But as I said, some people just cut them off. But given the cost, I'm seriously not going to do that, because otherwise, I mean, a bit of tidying up, obviously, but they're absolutely fine. So stuff like a bracket here, that one needs focus. That bracket needs taking off and cleaning up and repainting. Maybe actually, by the looks of it, needs renewing. The boots are not too bad, or at least they were fine until I melted one here, which is a pain in the ass, because as I say, they're not cheap. And the rack itself seems fine. There's no play at all in the rack and pinion, it's fine. But you can see how the lines have absolutely corroded, which is no big deal, you know, all repairable. But what's happened is, where is it? It's under here, you can see, or maybe not see. Is it there? Yeah, it's there basically. Can't see it very well. Somebody's tried to already remove these parts here, and they've chipped the housing and it's exposed the enclosure for that high pressure line. So what they did was, as I said before, filled it all up with glue. So it was a real pain in the ass trying to get this plate off, which is now loose. That's not a problem, I can take that off, but it's obviously glued these lines into the housing. Oh, this camera, what the hell? Stupid thing, there we go. Why doesn't it do that automatically? Anyway, so I'm going to try and do my best to try and get these lines off, because as I say, they're so expensive, I want to try and save them. Okay, so I've dismantled the steering rack as much as I can. These parts aren't too bad, they haven't got much play in them. It's like inner track rods or inner ball joints. They're fine. One of these is fine because it's quite new, but the other one's original and old, and there's massive wobble in the ball joint here, which I knew about because whenever I was going really fast on the motorway and braked hard, then the front wheels would wobble. So that's that. But back to these steering racks, I've stripped it down, that's what it looks like. And this line here, actually, I was able to pry it off from the hose because it was broken. So that was an accident or an issue waiting to happen right there. It really just sort of came off with a little bit of force. But anyway, going back to these, you can see, because I've melted this here quite badly, I've just tried to get a bit of heat on there just to try and save these pipes. There is nothing I can do. I've heated them up, I've put pressure on them, and they will not come out of that housing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a cut down here. So if I can reuse these parts because I can have these pipes made up. And it also makes it easier to handle. But I think in reality, I'll end up having to buy new pipes and a new rack because this is just taking too much time. But it was worth trying because, as I say, those pipes are very expensive, but unfortunately, guys, no luck. Okay, guys, so moving on to other things today. I've left the steering rack now. I'm just going to have to buy a new one and the new lines, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. I'm moving on to the radiator brackets now. I've done one, which is painted and on the shelf, but I'm going to do this one now. And as you can see, it's really bubbled up there, and yeah, needs repainting. Okay, so I've just finished cleaning this up with the angle grinder and then wet and dry sanding. It could always be better than it is. I mean, the best way to do it is to shot blast it, but I haven't got that opportunity really. So I think that'll be fine. I'm just wondering whether I use etch primer on there as an undercoat or whether I go for the red oxide. The other one I did with that red oxide. But whichever way I go, I'm going to paint that today. Guys, so I'm back up at the garage today, Sunday afternoon, and I tried cleaning this up yesterday. It's a small bracket which goes on the right hand side of the car, which forms part of the fuel tank securing mechanism, as it were, and this is part, it's sort of screwed on in the same place onto the chassis, and I think it is a connector for, I don't know, a brake line or something along those lines. But anyway, as you can see, it's, if you look up to the light, you can see those holes there. It's rusted through, so not worth trying to keep or repair. It probably isn't very expensive at all to buy it, but I've got some metal here, and I quite enjoy fabricating stuff, so I've actually got one more of these riv studs left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this up, flatten this first of all, draw a template onto this metal and cut it out. See how we get on. Okay, so I've just flattened that out and made my mark on the metal, and I'll cut that out now. Okay, so I've just cut that down. Matches up pretty well, and I'm now going to put this hole in there. Okay, so I've got that finished. I bent that over. Basically, I heated it up first. I annealed the metal, and actually you can see this is some kind of it's not copper, but maybe it's brass, but it's extremely hard, so maybe a mix. But I'm happy with it because it's the same gauge as the original, and I'll be able to paint it up, and it's, as I say, it's very stable. But yeah, you can't really see the shape of this anymore because I've flattened it, but that is pretty much the exact same thing. And I used a riv nut or a riv stud on the back here. Had to use a bit of a Heath Robinson way of getting it through there because I haven't got the tool anymore, but it worked fine. I basically put a socket which just fitted on the underside of that on the bench, and then hit it with the hammer until it's spread out on the back there. So I'm quite pleased with that, so I'm going to clean it up now and paint it. Okay, so finished that bracket. I'm pretty pleased with it, I guess. So that was my template. Obviously I bent that one flat, that was the original, and it's actually not quite dry yet. I've just spray painted it, but that is the bracket which I fabricated. So didn't take too long, probably took about an hour or so. I haven't been up here for long, but I'm going to leave it at that today, just a small job today, and go home. But yeah, that's the bracket.